My name is Stephanie Tresner. I'm a marketing manager here for one of our nonfiction teams at HarperCollins Christian. I've been in publishing for 10 years now, and I've been doing marketing for about 6 of those years. So just love books, love working with the different authors. It's a lot of fun for me.
I am Kristi Smith. I'm the marketing director for W Publishing Group, another one of the nonfiction trade groups here at Thomas Nelson. I have been with Thomas Nelson for 19 years. I've had many hats while I've been here. I've worked in art design, art and cover design, POP and production kind of things, and now I've been doing marketing for about 10 years.
Today we want to talk to you about the importance of events, whether that be a live event, a streaming event, or for example like a Facebook Live event. We're going to tell you how to take advantage of those and get the most out of those that you can. So as far as the importance of events when it comes to marketing your book, it is important. I think a lot of it will depend on what your bandwidth is, because the events and conferences and signings do take a lot of time. And sometimes it's hard to measure the ROI, like the return on investment for those, so that can be a little bit tricky. But for live events, I recommend that if you can stream it and reach a larger audience, that's great. At the live events, really encourage your audience to interact on social and help push the book during the event, because that will, again, just like streaming, give you a much broader reach than just the 500 people that are in the room. Same goes for, book signings. Get those people posting on social. We've done some book tours where we have authors who maybe don't tune in, aren't as tuned into social, and those that are. And those that are, you can almost correlate the return on investment because you can see all the social media activity and you can see a bump in sales.
Reiterating some of that, I would say that doing an average book signing tour is not something that you would want to do on a regular basis. Doing a more localized or regional tour for most authors is better for the ROI. But a nationwide book tour for as far as book signings is not necessarily something that we would recommend. However, live events, we find that the more people can interact with the message and the more that they can actually feel like they've been a part of the experience, the better we are with book sales. So I do recommend absolutely having books at any events where you're speaking or being a part of any larger conferences where you have the ability to piggyback off of other things that are happening is highly recommended. As far as other traditional marketing avenues, while everything is more digital, we find that it takes, where it used to take maybe 7 times of hearing a message before somebody caught on to wanting to buy it, it now takes between 20 or 30. And so the more diversified you can be with the marketing message, the better off we are.
Types of events I've worked on, I've done kind of launch events, so to celebrate the launch. An example of one was we actually did it in a local church. The tickets were free. We didn't charge for the tickets. So they got to come and hear the author speak a little, read a little from the book. This was like the day before the book came out. And then we actually had some musical guests. So if you have any way of pulling that off, that's a good way to kind of round out the experience and almost like a show. But of course, bring everything back to the book. And again, I can't reiterate enough, when you're doing these events, if you can live stream it because you're going to get a much bigger audience. And if you can get your people talking on social, do that as well. Some other events I've done would be like book signings. And I want to reiterate what Kristi said, that I don't necessarily recommend that you go to 10 cities, to 10 bookstores, and maybe end up with 200 people buying a book. That's a big investment to travel to all those cities and to secure those book signings. So I would recommend more the kind of launch events. Any conferences that you have, speaking engagements that you have leading up to the book release, make sure that people know that you have a book coming out. I mean, that sounds like really kind of simple, but I mean, that is important. You can do different things to push the book, give every attendee like a sample chapter either digitally or like a little pamphlet of it in their seat. We do sometimes mobile texting offers to where someone can text a keyword, for example, text my book to 313131 and they get an auto reply, and then they can go download sample chapters. It may simply have a pre-order link to a certain retailer site, but those are some different ways to do that. And also, if there's a way for you to capture emails at these conferences, email marketing is huge, even bigger than, it's more important than your social media platform, because your email subscribers are your hardcore fans. So if you have a way of collecting email addresses at these events, I highly encourage that, especially during the pre-order phase where we need to really have those people to market to.
And then as far as marketing at events, anytime you can get on an event platform that is not just yours, where you can be a part of, say, a Catalyst conference or a pastor's conference or a children's pastor's conference, worship leader conference, any of those, anytime you can have where you're bringing just one piece of the puzzle, but you're actually working with all the other people who are on the stage, then you get the benefit of their platforms as well, and the platform of the conference itself. So anytime you can be a part of the bigger conference sphere is going to be best for you. Events specifically for independent authors, I would say that the more regional, the better off you'll be, because then you have the opportunity to ingratiate yourself also to the bookstores that are regional. So we have like the Southern Independent Booksellers Association, or Southern Festival of Books, or things like that, where you can actually have a more direct contact with the event, and then also with the people who within the region that are kind of come and attend the event.
As far as what events to go after, sometimes it helps to have a sign up with a speakers bureau to help you secure speaking engagements. If you can't do that, there's a grassroots way. You can get on the internet and stalk just about anybody and find out who runs the event and contact that person yourself. I think any events that are really tailored to what your brand and your book is about is the best way to go about that. And then that just helps build your platform more and more, that you get in front of people.
I would also recommend the possibility of library events. We are finding more and more that people are going back to the libraries, especially for really great writing and the more memoir, independent book authors. The libraries are getting on board with them quite more frequently. So I would also recommend the ALAs and the PLAs and the American Library Association kind of events.
So an event for me that went really well for an author, this was probably about 2 years ago, and I hit on this a little earlier, but we did an event in a local church. We did not sell tickets, it was free admission, and that night, because we were telling people, talk on social about the book, talk on social, and if you just think, like, if you're having 500 people talk on social and they each have 500 friends, I'm not going to do the math, but that's a big reach. So, and we actually that night got the book up on Amazon in the top 10 of all books on Amazon. So that was a time that I was like, wow, events really do work. And but make sure you're getting people to talk on social. Don't just have your little event in a bubble and then no one's going out and doing anything. And also we did live stream that event. So if you have the capability to do that, that reached thousands more people, and that's really good if you can invest a little more money and be able to live stream the event, or even like Facebook Live the entire thing. That's totally free. So
on a similar note, if you can get yourself onto a larger platform conference, we had an author speak at Passion a couple years ago, and not only did he sell out of all of his books at the Passion conference, which was a huge deal, every bookstore, Passion is held in Atlanta, every bookstore out of Atlanta for about 50 miles all also sold out of his book. So it was it blew up on Amazon. It went into the local bookstores because people wanted to have that book in their hands because they had just heard him speak. So anytime you can get onto the platform of even the smaller conferences, the more they can hear you speak, the more they can interact with your message, the more they can become advocates.
As far as measuring success for an event and which ones to sort of invest your time in, there are different ways to measure success. There's return on investment, so are you actually getting sales out of the event? And then there's simply awareness. It's hard to measure awareness, but when it comes to return on investment, you can see, okay, I paid XYZ to travel this event. Hopefully you get, paid for speaking there. If you sell your book there, measure, well, how many books did I sell? And I also suggest looking at the social media activity during the event. So, how many people used the book hashtag and, what is their reach?
I would say that if it's before on sale, you would actually have to measure awareness more. So if you have the opportunity to collect emails, see how many emails that takes and how many you get from that, how many people downloaded something specific, I would make sure that you're always offering a call to action no matter what you're doing at an event. Whether it's buy the book, download a free PDF, sign up for something, so that you have an idea as to whether your message is resonating with the crowd that you're with.
If you want to see how the book is selling, what we do sometimes is we look at the rank of the book on Amazon before the event or the live stream or whatever you're doing, and then look at the rank afterwards. So then you can kind of make a correlation. Oh, this really did work. Or it's also really important to try to figure out what content is working for your people. So if you see that the rank shot up on the day that you talked about self-improvement and dieting, then consider talking about that again, because it's obviously resonating with your people.
And as you're measuring these kinds of things, you can also make sure that you go back, if you did it live stream, that you go back and watch and see how the views are growing, and then you can correlate that also with your Amazon rank. How we interact with people at a conference that we are part of a global sponsorship with, so maybe HarperCollins has gotten a booth at something like a Catalyst, we will offer free books, and we want to make sure that we are offering up something that will draw attention to the actual booth or table that we're at. So we offer up free giveaways. We do the text to win that Stephanie spoke about earlier, where we can enter in to win maybe a gift card or we've given away everything from gift cards to gift baskets to Fitbits to any number of things. So we always have to make sure that we're engaging with the crowd and getting the opportunity to get feedback from them. And hopefully at the same time, at most conferences like that, we're not allowed to sell products. So we will make sure that we are giving away something that will garner an email response or something, so that we can follow up with them at a later date.
Some different ways that we've created kind of momentum behind a book, pre-release and post-launch. Pre-orders are very important because it shows the retailer that there's excitement behind the book, and it helps. It will result in them bringing in more stock, which is always great. You don't want to run out of stock on the day your book comes out. It does happen, and that's normally because there were not enough pre-orders. So one thing we do with pretty much all of our books is we create a pre-order incentive package. So these are normally digital downloads, whether it be a bonus chapter or a Q&A with the author, a 10-day devotional related to the book, a discussion guide for the book. So something that, because in our research we found that most people are not inclined to pre-order unless they are just a hardcore fan of the author. So offering them something to where you can say, if you pre-order, I'm going to give you these bonus exclusive gifts. No extra charge, they'll arrive in your inbox. As far as logistics for setting that up, if you have a website or a website for the book, you can set up a simple form that just asks for like their name, their email address, their receipt number, and you can set up an auto reply so that once they enter that information, the digital goodies, if you will, go directly to their inbox. Post-launch is, I feel like that's a little more difficult because a lot of our focus here is on the pre-order phase, but you do need to still remember post-launch because that's important, and you as the author probably will gravitate towards that because you want continued success for your book. So ways to do that, I would say I wouldn't do this right after the book comes out, but don't forget that if you've created those digital downloads for the pre-order phase, those can be repurposed later down the road. So just remember that you do have those assets, and you can market the book again saying, don't forget I now have a discussion guide that you can access anytime. I think, I don't want to date this video, but as of right now, one of our biggest ROI producers when it comes to if you want to advertise your book would be Facebook ads. So you really need to have a Facebook fan page and build that following, and then you can do targeted ads from that page. Continue to engage with your fans on social through post-launch. Some ways of doing that are if you share video about the book, if you do a Facebook Live or Instagram Live, share quotes from the book, just different ways to seed the book out there and keep it in front of them, because probably not every one of your social followers is going to buy the book. So you're always continuing to kind of put your message out there, and you don't want to bombard them. You don't want to talk about the book every single day, but consistent mentions of the book is good.
And as far as other promotional opportunities, pre-launch and post-launch, I would say that make sure you're in, don't be afraid to promote your book. And so that means don't be afraid to ask your friends to help you with this. Obviously, what that looks like, a nice influencer gift with the copy of the book and some ideas as to how they can post on their socials. Potential partnerships that you can go after for people who are like-minded. And with the opportunity of, if you hand them some books that they can give away, you can actually get them to use their social media or their email lists to help promote your product. And then remember that experience is key. And so what they're wanting to do is experience your content, they're buying a book because they want to get to know you personally better. So as far as doing digital downloads is great. And then you can also just give them free video content that they can really be a part of, and a part of the experience as well. How do influencers help launch a book? I mean, this is obviously the power of more than one is always better than just your individual product, your individual platforms. And I think that people don't consider how much their friends probably do want to help them launch their products, and how much they're invested in your ministry and your platform. So I would say that we still rely heavily on our authors, influencers to help promote a book through their socials, through their e-blasts, through their churches, through their own platforms. A lot of times we can maybe work together on conferences or speaking events, and that brings along the whole group for more visibility.
As far as influencers go, I think that's still a very important component to book marketing. If you have personal relationships with people you deem influential, whether that's like a pastor or another author, someone with a significant social following, that's kind of how you can categorize influencers. That's important. What we typically do is try to kind of create a perfect storm during launch week to get a lot of chatter going online. So if you can get a copy of the book to your influencer a couple of weeks before the book comes out, include a personal letter from you. If it's handwritten, all the better, but if you have 50 influencers, I know you may not have time to do that. But and don't be afraid to just go ahead and put your ask in there, which is, can you talk about my book on social media or in your church or anywhere and everywhere. And let them know the day the book comes out, let them know the book hashtag. You can even equip them with, here are some sample posts that you could say to make it real plug and play for those influencers who normally have very busy schedules.
What I would say about how you can do promotions outside of social media, I would make sure that your local bookstores knows who you are, that you walk in, you introduce yourself to the manager, you offer to sign copies, you offer to do a reading or speaking events at local libraries. I think that as you travel, it wouldn't hurt to go into a handful of stores and meet those managers as well, offer to sign copies of their books there. The more personal you can be with people, the more they feel like they have a part to play in your story. And so the more that happens, the more people will be more apt to hand sell your book or recommend it or read it and then pass it along. And so the more that you can do that, I think the better off you will be.
So some other ways that you can promote your book on your own, those of you who really, really care about your message and want to make sure it gets out there, one thing that I recommend doing is if you could form a launch team. I think that that's important. So this is a group of people who've committed to getting the word out about the book for you. Of course, that could include social, and most of it will be social. But another big thing is get those, Amazon reviews up there. Ask them to do those reviews. Ask them to do Goodreads reviews. Ask them to tell their neighbor, their postal worker, their cashier about the book. So get those kind of word of mouth advocates on your side, because word of mouth is so powerful. It can help a book take legs of its own and just take off once it comes to word of mouth. That's probably the most powerful marketing tool out there. When it comes to creating a launch team, the basic steps that we normally have our authors go through is simply, first of all, creating an online application. You can do that very easily through, if you use something like Google Docs, you can create a form, and then you'll share that on your socials with your email list. Sign up for my launch team. You need to give those people perks for signing up. Maybe you give them all the digital downloads that you had created for your pre-order offer. You need to get the book in their hands so that they can intelligently speak about the book and, really get behind it. If you just say, be on my launch team, and they don't have a copy of the book, that's going to be hard for them to become advocates. So if you're able to give, I don't know if you're able to give like a digital sample of the book, if you're able to get kind of some advanced copies, but just somehow get the book in front of them. And the way that we normally engage the group, we create a central hub of communication via a private Facebook group. So once you've kind of gone through your list of these are all the people that applied, kind of vet that, then invite them into the private Facebook group, and you as the author would probably want to be the moderator and the leader of that. So you could give them something that we call launch team missions. You can simply post a couple times a week and say hashtag launch team mission, and I say use that hashtag because if people get behind on their missions, they can go back at any time and click that hashtag and see what all the missions were. But give them missions so that they know exactly what to do, because a lot of people come into these launch team groups and they're like, I don't know what you want me to do. So give them things to do, whether it's, okay, today I want you to tell 3 people about the book. Okay, today I want you to post this video on your social. So give them tactile, instructions and things that they can do to get the word out. We've talked about influencers and how important those are. A lot of times when we do our influencer mailings, of course, like I said, we include a final copy of the book and a note from the author. Another really cool thing you can do, just because a lot of these influencers, they're getting a lot of these exact mailings, so you want to make yours stand out. So some kind of like little gift or trinket that's related to the book is helpful. And one reason that's helpful, like I said, it'll stand out a little more when they get that mailing. Secondly, they can even, a lot of times they like to post a picture on their socials. Here's the new book, kind of lay it out aesthetically. They might put a picture of the gift. For example, I would say my favorite one I've ever done was a book with Sheila Walsh called The Storm Inside. And we did some research, what can we do that's related to the title or something. And we ended up doing something called a storm glass. So they're about $10 a piece, and it's about this tall, and it's obviously glass, and it has these like crystals inside that whenever the weather is doing certain things, they like move around or whatever. So it's like if it's snowing, you're gonna see the crystals doing this. So anyways, we got a lot of feedback on that was a really cool tie into the book, and it really made the mailing stand out to people, which is essentially what we want.
Anything that can actually bring about the central message of the book. So if it's a storm glass, or if it's we're doing a book called Tailor Made and we're sending out label makers. So anything that could actually be a part of the ongoing marketing campaign that they can actually associate with the book. And then for what we give away as physical promotional products at events or conferences, we give away bookmarks, postcards with downloadable, with links to downloads, samplers so that people can begin reading the book, and then go to a website after that to actually sign up. We give away actual copies of the book because, as Stephanie said earlier on, word of mouth is still the most important piece of marketing that we have. So we actually get the books into the hands of people so that they can start talking about it. And then we give away anything that would go with your brand. So if you have other books, or you have an audio version, or you have the ebook version, or something that you can do to kind of enhance the package, we work to give away those items as well. The most important thing I would say for promoting your book and product would be that you build and engage with your social media platforms, including your email list. That engagement is going to be the most important part of your platform. that sheer numbers is not exactly, if you have 1 million followers and only 13 people engage with what you're talking about, your platform is for nothing. And so I would say that making sure that you ingratiate yourself into your fans so that they are active participants in your campaign and in your message is what I would say is your number one opportunity, and that's free.
I'm going to piggyback off what Kristi said and say I tell my authors the first thing you want to do and make sure you have is a solid email list. There are different ways you can go about that. A lot of times we create what we call lead magnets or freemiums. So it's what that is if you sign up for my email list, then you're going to get this free download in your inbox. That's an easy way to build your email list. So you can post about, even if you have a good social media following, go and post on your social media and say, hey, are you part of my email list? Are you my email friend, or whatever you want to call it? Kind of tie that back to your brand. Like if it's we have a female author and she literally calls them her email friends, her EFs. So I would say focus on that email list. I would also say know that it's going to take hard work if you want to get your book out there. You can't just put the book out there and expect, people are just going to find it. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to, spend some time, invest some time on, building your platform and getting the word out and just doing everything you can to get people to pick up the book.
And I also want to say, I can't reiterate enough that making sure that your local following, that you have a relationship with your local libraries, your local bookstores, your local, all of those, local coffee shops and things like that, so that they are actually going to be your advocates for their patrons that come in. Well, I was going to say, what I would want to say is that making sure that you're doing Facebook Lives is important, but make sure that you are not just doing Facebook Lives, that you are cross-promoting on your Insta stories and making sure that Instagram is also key in what you're doing, because and actually putting them up on YouTube is also a great way to enhance the message. We're finding that YouTube is the number 3 largest search engine now in all search engines, just behind Google and Amazon, actually. So making sure that if you're doing these video components, that you're not just limiting it to Facebook, that you are cross-pollinating it against other platforms.
As far as Facebook Lives and kind of live streams like that, which are really big right now on social media, and I'll say most people already know this, but if you do a Facebook Live, once you go live, people get a push notification to their phone. So it's not just, you have a new notification on Facebook. It will pop up on your phone and say, so-and-so is live right now. So that's huge. And I would say something very important is to get into a schedule with those so that people expect those and anticipate those coming. I have an author right now who I feel like is really great at this. She does, and I'm not saying you have to do this every day, but she actually does 6 a.m. motivations. So she gets up at 6 a.m. and does like a 5 or 10 minute Facebook Live. She takes questions on there. She interacts with the people who are commenting and says, hey, Teresa from San Diego or whatever. So, and again, just to echo what Kristi said, get on Instagram Live too, cross-pollinate. Like Kristi said, YouTube is huge, and you can just, download those videos and post it to there. So yeah, I think Facebook Live is very important right now in getting the word out. Hi everyone, welcome. Today we want to talk to you about the importance of events, whether that be a live event, a streaming event, or for example, like a Facebook Live event. We're going to tell you how to take advantage of those and get the most out of those that you can.
Thanks for joining us today. There will be some bonus materials that will be given to you guys at the end of the program, and looking forward to seeing your books on the list.